What's up? Good mic work. Back at you with your Elimination Chamber reaction and post-EC Raw review. You're getting a double header tonight as well. 2 videos will be up. My pay-per-view and DVD reviews are back, and my next one will be uploaded about 2 or 3 hours after this commentary is. So if you're watching this a few hours later, just check the screen. I've got the link up. Click it. It'll take you right over to it. If you're watching this immediately after I upload the video, then just give it a couple of hours and check back, and you should be able to find it. Lots to get into here tonight. I'm going to touch on the Elimination Chamber, obviously. I'm also going to get into Raw. I'm going to get into some other news going around in the world of wrestling, and I'll briefly touch on Paul Heyman's appearance on Stone Cold's podcast on the WWE Network. But let's kick things off with the Elimination Chamber. I told you the Elimination Chamber match was pointless. What do we remember about the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view? We remember the 2 matches that were not Elimination Chamber matches, and I'm talking about the World Heavyweight title match and Kevin Owens versus John Cena. I gotta say, this pay-per-view exceeded expectations. You know my feelings on some of these pay-per-views. I am not a fan of these things coming up every 2 weeks or every few days, and now we've got Money in the Bank coming up in 2 more weeks. This shit is just going too fast, but at least they came through with the pay-per-view. It was a good one, and we had the surprise of a lifetime on there, and we will get to that surprise in just a minute, but out of respect for the WWE title, I feel like we need to talk about that match first. I love what they did. They added a little twist on something that we already knew was going to happen anyway. No matter what was going to happen, you knew Seth Rollins was not going to be dropping the title to Dean Ambrose. So the fact that they made you think he did, at least for a few minutes, I mean, Dean Ambrose, he got the full-on ring announcement and everything. They announced him as the new World Heavyweight Champion. The graphic came up on the screen. He's got the belt. They really did a good job of making the fans think Ambrose actually won the title. A lot of people were tweeting me because I had asked to be kept informed on what was going on, and people were saying, Ambrose just won the title, Ambrose just won the title, and I couldn't see what was going on. Even though I have the network on my phone, I couldn't look at it at the time, and I was like, holy shit, how is that even possible? And then about 5 minutes later, people start tweeting again, oh, never mind, false alarm, they fucked him over or whatever. So going back and watching the match, not one of their best matches together, but still very good. And again, I can't say enough good things about the ending. And Dean Ambrose left with the belt. So he stole the belt at the same time, which means this feud is going to continue, and they are going to have a rematch at Money in the Bank, which unfortunately means no Dean Ambrose in the actual Money in the Bank ladder match. He's getting the title shot instead. You know, that's not the end of the world to me. I do know that I mentioned that I would have loved to see Ambrose grab the briefcase. I would still love to see that. But the fact that he's not, if they want to give it to Reigns, you know what? Fine, because that's much better than what they were going to do with him last year, the way they just bullshit, built him all the way up for WrestleMania, and then you thought he was going to win the title. They took it away from him. Now they can give him the briefcase and have him hold that for a few months, which actually should keep him out of world title shots for a while. I think it's too early to speculate on when and where whoever wins that briefcase will cash it in, but I will say this, and I will say this early, and keep in mind, I'm a year early on this, but what I think would happen this time around, I can't see the next Money in the Bank winner cashing it in at WrestleMania. I don't think they're going to do that 2 years in a row, because if they do that, what's going to happen is it's going to start becoming obvious. It's like, well, shit, does that mean every year the briefcase holder just automatically holds it till WrestleMania because he knows that's where he can make the biggest impact? If the 2 previous guys did it successfully, what's going to stop everybody from trying to do it? So I think this year they need to have the cash-in take place somewhere else and have it be successful. Let's just say, for argument's sake, it is Reigns, and he cashes in later on in the year, maybe in December, maybe at the Royal Rumble, and wins the World Heavyweight title. And instead of Roman Reigns winning the title at WrestleMania, he drops it at WrestleMania. I would maybe like to see something like that. But that is looking way ahead. Let's stay focused on the main event here of Elimination Chamber. I think it was well done. However, some of the dissension in the authority is growing a little bit tiresome. I will admit that. But all in all, I think it's really great that even though Dean Ambrose didn't win the title, at least he got to feel it. You know, he got to hear his name announced. He got to hold up the belt. He stole the fucking thing, so he's going to hang on to it until the pay-per-view when Seth inevitably retains the title and probably gets it back. But as far as Elimination Chamber goes, I was happy with the match. The matches I was not happy with were the Elimination Chamber matches. To me, they both weren't that great. The tag team one, I mean, like I said, it was going to be silly. I didn't understand why they all needed to even be in there. And the New Day, in one of the funniest parts, they were all allowed to compete in this thing, which was hilarious seeing them, all 3 of them in that pod. And of course, as I expected and I hoped, they did figure out a way to retain their title. But it took 3 of them. Since the Chamber is kind of a goofy-ass match anyway, I didn't mind the fact that they had a goofy-ass stipulation that allowed the 3 of them to compete. But if they start start doing this shit in regular matches, it's going to piss me off. I'm regretting not picking Ryback now. He was on my sleeper list. I had a feeling that maybe they could put the belt on Ryback. I mentioned that WWE wants to get him over. Some people feel like he is over. I feel like he's really not. I like Ryback. He's very likable, especially when he cuts promos lately. It's hard to wish any ill will towards the guy. But again, they're giving him the strap to give him something to do and hopefully maybe get him over a little bit more. And we'll see how his reign goes. I mean, he's got to have a good one. And like we saw on Raw, it looks like his first feud will be with the Big Show. We'll get to that in a minute. But as far as the Intercontinental title chamber match goes, it was, a little bit boring. It had its moments. But for the most part, I was just sitting there shaking my head like, why the fuck are they having this match? It just makes no sense. I don't like the Elimination Chamber, and I don't care if I ever see the fucking thing again. Before we talk about the most surprising moment of the night, we also saw Neville defeat Bo Dallas in a pretty good match. I can see that they're slowly maybe changing Bo Dallas. He's gotten a little bit more serious in the past couple of weeks, and tonight on Raw, he was even a little bit more serious, and he's also suffering some losses, being owned by Neville every time they get in the ring, so this might be a metamorphosis for him. He might turn into, a little bit more serious of a player. He may eventually snap, get really vicious. I don't know. We're already seeing shades of that, so I think maybe that could be in Bo Dallas's future, and I hope that it is, because that pedophile-sounding freak that he is now, I just don't like the gimmick. It's definitely been funny at times, but they're not treating it as any more than just something funny or a joke, and to me, Bo Dallas is pretty good in the ring, and I wouldn't mind seeing them do things a little bit different with him. Also, Nikki did retain the Divas title, so that's good. I think that was a triple threat match, so that was basically the pay-per-view, except for the one big match that I haven't talked about yet, Kevin Owens versus John Cena. Holy shit, was good mic work. Impressed. My indie knowledge is not what it used to be. I am fully aware of Kevin Steen and who he is. I've seen a few of his matches, but I am probably not as knowledgeable about him and his career as a lot of you are. I'll openly admit that. So a lot of the stuff I've seen him do, listening to his promos, really paying attention to his in-ring work, I'm seeing some of this shit for the first time, and I think he performed wonderfully with John Cena. You talk about a guy that is confident. He knows his value, and I love that in a guy. He's done so much around the world and wrestled for so long without coming to the WWE that he's walking in there like, I am not intimidated by this shit. I'm every bit as good as every motherfucker in this WWE locker room. I always have been. I'm going to go out there and perform and do well and prove everybody that I deserve to be in this spot. And the WWE loves him. And to me, it's just amazing to see a guy come out there and score a clean victory against John Cena in his first match. That tells you, that just speaks volumes, because when you think about Vince McMahon and WWE's mentality in previous years, when the fuck have they ever done this? We're talking about an independent guy. Some of the other guys in Owens' position, the Daniel Bryans that have come in, it's like they had to work Velocity and Superstars for like 3 years before they did anything with him. Daniel Bryan had to get released and brought back. He had to be the Miz's student. How fucked up is that when you look back at that NXT shit that they did, or the Nexus, or whatever the fuck? So I was always worried that when and if a guy like Kevin Steen or Samoa Joe came into the WWE, that they would be completely destroyed and not even close to what they have been on the independent level or worldwide. Think of Taz. Taz is another guy. Such a dominant beast and a good wrestler in ECW. He came into the WWE, he was a fucking joke. Most guys, they've got to completely revamp their character. At least Kevin Owens, they just changed his last name. It looks like they're keeping Samoa Joe, which I still can't believe. And I don't care what happens from here on out. There's going to be all sorts of people pissed off because he has a rematch with him at Money in the Bank. And yes, Cena probably will get his win back. But who fucking cares? What Owens did was awesome. And now it's to the point where if Cena gets a victory over Owens, it's not going to be that big a deal. This feud can continue. It should be good. I love the promos. Not only is Owens impressing me in the ring, he's impressing me on the mic. He's very matter of fact. He doesn't fuck up his lines. He's just very good at talking. He's very good at getting his point across. I'm really a fan of everything he's doing. And as we also saw on Raw, Owens came out and cut another really good promo, and so did John Cena. They're setting up their rematch for Money in the Bank. Now, much like the Rusev situation, Rusev was attacking America. And now this time, Kevin Owens is attacking kids with cancer, apparently. John Cena, I gotta say, there was a few things about the promo I didn't really like, but the promo itself was really well done, really well delivered. Cena will bust out like 3 or 4 of these a year, where he's just really intense and he really fucking means business. And I definitely got a few goosebumps when he was talking, but, the cancer kid, I'm not denying that the kid has cancer. That's horrible, but it's obviously a plant. They knew, it's not like that was spontaneous. They knew John Cena was going to point out that kid, and regardless, think of how that must have made that kid's day. A dream of a lifetime come true. John Cena calling you out on Raw, saying to fight hard. Pretty good stuff, and that's what they're using in the feud with John Cena now and Kevin Owens, as Cena's taking it personally, because when Kevin Owens talks so much trash and he's so disrespectful on the mic, that means that he's slapping kids with cancer in the face. That's basically how John Cena was putting it. So naturally, when you think about how deep that feud is, it's just like when John Cena was fighting for American pride, there was no way he was going to lose that match to Rusev. Now he's fighting for these kids. Again, same situation. John Cena's probably going to get the next victory here. I don't care. I just hope they get a third match. And I truly think it might be different than Rusev because, the problem with everybody else that gets so pissed off when John Cena comes out on the winning end of feuds is they want the guy he's working with to win every single one of their matches, no matter what. It is never okay for John Cena to win a match. So I say, fine. Let's say he lost every match to Bray Wyatt during their feud. And then he lost every match to Rusev during their feud. He got his ass kicked by Brock Lesnar 2 other times after he got his ass kicked by him at SummerSlam. That's what everybody wanted to see. So fine, let's say that happened. How important would Kevin Owens' victory be if John Cena lost all those fucking matches? John Cena is WWE's star. They're going to book him in a way where he wins some and he loses some, but he's never completely humiliated. They're not going to do that to him, and so now everybody's going to think that he needs to lose again at Money in the Bank. No. If you've watched any other feud in the history of professional wrestling, that's generally not what happens. And if and when Cena does win, that is not an abomination. That is not a burial of Kevin Owens. Obviously, WWE has big plans for him, or he wouldn't have won that match at Elimination Chamber. I like Owens. I think the WWE likes him, and I think he is flat out better than Rusev. And I think that's why Rusev ended up looking the way he did at the end of John Cena's feud, who incidentally, I think Rusev will wind up being just fine too. And in a weird way, I think this ankle injury of his might be a blessing. Maybe him just getting off of TV for 2 months is exactly what he needs. He can come back fresh and new and motivated, and maybe you'll forget all about that loss to John Cena. He's got a roster spot for years to come, but I still think on a level of, sports entertainment-wise, Kevin Owens is a much better guy. If you're going to have anybody upend Cena or anybody treat Cena in such a way that nobody has done since Brock Lesnar, Kevin Owens, I think, is a better guy than Rusev to do it because Kevin Owens has something that Rusev does not have. From a sports entertainment side of things and somebody who can really be in a believable feud with John Cena and something a little more modern. I always hated those national pride storylines. What Cena and Rusev just got done doing, that was so 80s. I didn't really enjoy it that much. This to me feels much more real because Kevin Owens is believable. He doesn't scream and shout, he just talks. And there's very few guys in wrestling that have been able to deliver promos like that, and I'm super impressed so far with Kevin Owens. I'm not going to put him up there with the Shield just yet as far as modern wrestlers that I really mark out for, but damn, he's getting close. And since we're on the subject of Raw now, this show was centered around Roman Reigns. Now, like I said, these pay-per-views are moving so quickly, we already have 6 competitors announced for the Money in the Bank ladder match. I don't even know when these were announced. Now, I watched the Elimination Chamber, but I pretty much only watched the matches. So if it was announced in a middle segment during the pay-per-view, I must have missed it. But so far, the competitors in the match that have been announced are Roman Reigns, Dolph Ziggler, Neville, Sheamus, Randy Orton, and Kofi Kingston. So they've already got 6 guys. I think they're going to add maybe 2 more. And tonight was all about the Authority trying to stop Roman Reigns from getting in the match and says, you're going to have to win a match tonight against Wade Barrett if you want to keep your spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match. And if you lose, you're out. So, of course, I don't know why WWE pretends that match is going to be anything other than a squash match, which is pretty much what it was. Reigns beats Wade Barrett, but no, Triple H and the Authority are not done yet. They confront Roman Reigns backstage and says, you know what, you got to go out there again. You got to win another match if you want to keep your spot in the Money in the Bank, and this time you're going to wrestle Mark Henry. And then Triple H waltzes off singing Mark Henry's theme song, my favorite part of Raw. Crack me up. So Roman Reigns goes out there for a second match and ends up winning this one too. He wins via countout. So he's back in the backstage area again, and he's confronted again by Triple H and Stephanie and says, nope, you're not done yet. In tonight's main event, you're going to wrestle Bray Wyatt. Holy shit. And I don't know about you, but it seems like Triple H is taking this shit with Roman Reigns a little bit personally. Have there been any rumors about the two of them at SummerSlam? I haven't heard anything, but to me it looks like they might be heading in that direction. So in the main event, and really the only part of the show I didn't like, I didn't know if I wanted to see Roman Reigns beat Bray Wyatt. I would have rather seen maybe Bray Wyatt in the second match losing via countout. I don't know. This is nitpicking. A lot of people are pissed off, because of Roman Reigns' push. I think people have been lightening up on him, but the fact that he beat Bray Wyatt clean after having two previous hard-fought matches probably is not sitting well with too many people. You knew he was going to win and survive because you knew he was going to stay in the Money in the Bank. I don't think the Authority is going to take him out. So whatever happened, you knew he was going to wind up beating Bray Wyatt in some way. I almost wish it could have been a DQ or whatever. I didn't really enjoy the clean pinfall. But other than that, I will have to say Reigns is getting better. I'm one of the ones that have always had his back, but at the same time, I acknowledge the problems with him. And I thought tonight he was a little funny. My favorite part was just when he was laughing. Just when he was being himself. He was laughing at Seth Rollins, who was legitimately doing a good job of throwing a hissy fit, and I think Roman Reigns was legitimately laughing because it was that funny. He also wasn't horrible in the few words that he did say on the mic in that opening promo. So all in all, Roman Reigns I think is getting better. He's growing on me. Hopefully if he's growing on me, he's growing on everyone else. Now as for the rest of Raw, I thought it was an okay show, but not really that great. We saw Ryback start his feud with the Big Show, like I mentioned. I think Miz actually had a match or a title shot or something. Big Show came out or returned. We haven't seen him in a few weeks and knocked out the Miz and said, if anybody's going to take that belt off of you, it's going to be me. So we get a Ryback and Big Show feud. This is so Vince McMahon. These two big beefy guys. Put Ryback in the ring with somebody that can give him a good, fun, competitive match that he can win and the fans can cheer at the end of. This is going to be like watching rhinos fuck. I just don't like the sound of this at all, and I'm not excited for this feud, and it's just fucking stupid. There was a title match, too, on the show. Nikki defended the Divas title again. She won again, beating Paige. Nikki and Brie pulled the old switcheroo, taking a page from Demolition, the Killer Bees, the Usos, countless other teams. Fooled 30-year veteran referee Mike Chioda, didn't see it at all. Rolled out of the ring, and I love how sneaky and dirty my woman can be. Congratulations, baby. Really nothing else to mention about Raw. Randy Orton and Sheamus kind of had a boring match. I think Kofi Kingston got in the ring and wrestled somebody. A horrible promo advertising Sonic backstage with the Mega Powers. You know what? Believe it or not, I don't find this funny. I love the Mega Powers. It was a big part of my, young adult life in pro wrestling, watching Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. And anytime they try to spoof it or whatever, I'm fine with it. But Damian Sandow, this to me is his least entertaining gimmick. I don't think he does a very good Macho Man. I think the only thing similar about him is his name. You can do Macho Mandow. And he does have a pretty good beard. Other than that, I think Kurt Axel is much better at being Hulk Hogan than Damian Sandow is at being Macho Man Randy Savage. And I kind of think that the crowd is not into it either. They've had a couple of matches. I was okay with it at first if it got over. If the fans were really digging it, and digging the old school throwback and the music and these guys coming out there acting like the Mega Powers and actually winning matches, I'd be fine with putting the belts on them. But every time they're out there, the fans are just, there's crickets chirping. I don't think anybody gives a shit. So I would like them to just go ahead and drop the angle. WWE, know what's good for you. Take my advice. Cut your fucking losses and end this stupid tag team. Oh yeah, and the one other thing I guess I forgot to mention was Dean Ambrose. I mentioned that he stole the belt after his fake victory at Elimination Chamber. He wasn't on Raw at all. Ambrose didn't have to work at all on the show. Roman Reigns had to work 3 times in 3 matches and I think at least 3 backstage segments and a promo to start the show. And after Roman Reigns beats Bray Wyatt, the Authority jumps in the ring, starts kicking his ass. So obviously, Ambrose is going to come out. And it just cracks me up. I mean, it's just wrestling. You just got to kind of bite your lip. But it's like, Jesus. The announcers are freaking out. Seth Rollins' eyes go bug-eyed. And the J&J security's running around freaking out. Did you not think this guy was going to come out? It's fucking Monday Night Raw. We haven't seen him on the show all night. Of course he's going to come out. On top of that, his buddy's in the ring getting his ass kicked. Of course he's going to come out. If you ask me, instead of Michael Cole sounding so surprised, Michael Cole should have said, "Oh, Ambrose, it's about fucking time." Just dumb. But at the end of the day, Dean Ambrose still keeps the belt. Rollins tried to grab it. I think Dean Ambrose even threw it at him. Rollins didn't even know what to do. Ambrose ended up hitting him with the DDT or something, grabbing the belt, and him and Reigns escaped through the crowd. So Ambrose, obviously, I think we can tell, he's probably just going to hold on to that belt until Money in the Bank, and then I expect Rollins to get it back some way, shape, or form. So just like that, overnight, we already have 4 matches announced for Money in the Bank. We have the actual Money in the Bank ladder match already with 6 participants announced. a rematch for the World Heavyweight title between Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, and also a rematch between John Cena and Kevin Owens. I'm sorry, that's 3 matches, not 4. Good mic work can't count. As far as what else we need to get into here, I want to get into a little bit of wrestling news, and I will, like I said, briefly touch on Paul Heyman on Stone Cold's podcast that literally just ended a little while ago. Now, in some WWE news, I read that Brock Lesnar is going to make his return to the WWE on a house show in Japan on the 4th of July. Am I reading that right? And are my eyes deceiving me? Is he really going to work with Kofi Kingston? They did not mention this on the Stone Cold podcast with Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman did touch on Brock, but I don't remember him saying anything about this Japan tour or if he was working with Kofi. But it's what I've read, and it's what a few of you are telling me, and that's pretty amazing. You know, on one hand, I'm like, great, we get Brock back sooner than later. Hopefully he'll work SummerSlam. I'm guessing he will anyway, but hopefully he'll work a couple other pay-per-views too. And this is going to be his first house show match in, like, I don't know what, 12 years or something? And poor Kofi. Jesus, I can't believe they're feeding Kofi to this guy. He's going to get absolutely killed. Also, I just heard today that Samoa Joe has signed a full main roster contract with the WWE, and so did Kevin Owens. So they're not going to keep Owens around in NXT for too long. It looks like they're going to move him right up to the main roster. I don't want to see too much mixing. I'm fine with this right now. I'm fine with Owens being there and feuding with John Cena. I think it's awesome. But as we saw tonight on Raw, I'm pretty sure they announced this for SmackDown. Kevin Owens is going to, I guess, mock John Cena some more and do an NXT title open challenge on SmackDown and challenge anybody to come out there and take the belt from him. Now, I think that's great for storyline purposes because Kevin Owens is mocking John Cena. But I don't know if I want to see the NXT title defended on SmackDown on Raw. I'd rather not see that. I don't mind occasionally, maybe if once they have a title match or the title changes hands on a pay-per-view or something like that. Otherwise, I'd like to see the title stay right there in NXT. NXT is a great brand all on its own, and I would like to see them stay that way as best as possible. So the only thing I'm wondering is I was kind of under the assumption that they were going to go ahead and move Kevin Owens up to the main roster very quickly, which means they need a new NXT champion, and the perfect guy would be Samoa Joe. But now with the news of him signing a main roster deal as well, they could be moving them both up. So I think really before Kevin Owens does too much else, he needs to get rid of that NXT title. At this point, he doesn't even need to hold it. He just beat John Cena on the main roster. He does not need to be in NXT anymore. I mean, at least in storyline. So you would think that he's probably going to be dropping this belt sooner rather than later, and most likely to Samoa Joe. But I guess we'll have to wait and see how all of that plays out. I don't know if I'd really like to see this on SmackDown of all shows, but I wouldn't mind maybe John Cena screwing him out of the belt. That wouldn't be too bad. Maybe Kevin Owens continues to be so disrespectful that John Cena, hey, I'm going to get revenge and get your belt off of you and have you lose to someone. That way they can take the title off of Kevin Owens without having him lose clean. And so they could go in that direction. I don't know. But the fact that Samoa Joe is now there full-time as well is pretty awesome. And he worked a dark match, didn't he? Or he worked a Superstars taping or something tonight. I think he worked with Tyson Kidd. I saw a photo of it on Twitter. So he's in there, man. It's great to see them in there. I hope they do great things. Also, speaking of where those guys came from, TNA and Ring of Honor have been in the news. Now, TNA, they are always just so fucked. I mean, if things just can't get worse for them, they just got on Destination America not that long ago, and then there was rumors running everywhere over the last couple of weeks that Destination America was going to cancel them. And I still don't know if they've ever come out and officially announced this or if TNA has even acknowledged the rumors publicly, but now they've announced that Ring of Honor has gotten a TV deal with Destination America. If you ask me, keep both of the fucking promotions and do an invasion angle. But what I think this probably comes down to is probably TNA's enormous payroll. I think Destination America got a cheaper product in Ring of Honor that will probably deliver ratings-wise on the same level that TNA will. And so I'm guessing the costs to run Ring of Honor on Destination America are probably cheaper for the network than when they have TNA. And that probably is a big factor as to why they are making this change. But yeah, I guess TNA's out. I don't know when their last show will be, how far their contract goes until. I'm guessing September, which means they're going to be looking for a new network again. And now Ring of Honor is taking over on Destination America. Destination America, they just want a wrestling show. That's all, because wrestling is all American, and that's their channel name. So I think they just want to have some professional wrestling on their show, and they're probably getting a cheaper deal signing Ring of Honor. So TNA, I don't know what to tell you. I guess I can just wish you luck, but we'll see where TNA finally lands, if they land anywhere at all. Now, the last thing I'll mention before I get out of here is the very interesting Paul Heyman interview on the Stone Cold podcast on the WWE Network that immediately followed Raw. I actually and honestly didn't think we were going to hear anything that earth-shattering come out of this interview. I thought these guys would tell some stories about their past, they would reminisce, maybe touch on a few things here and there, which they did, but I didn't expect any sort of bombshell to be dropped, and man, they dropped a big one on us at the end. They start off slow, laughing, laughing and goofing around and talking about the old days in WCW, and Paul Heyman has a spot-on impression of Dusty Rhodes. Absolutely flawless. The whole thing was very lighthearted, and I love hearing stories about both of these guys' careers. Austin did ask him about CM Punk. They talked a little bit about CM Punk, and Paul Heyman put him over for what a hard-working, driven, motivated guy he is that is not motivated by money, and he's taking on UFC as a challenge, as something he likes to do, and he says he talks to him frequently and thinks that he'll do well. There was a really good segment in there where they talked about all the problems with the WWE's promo system and how promos are so different and everything is so scripted now, and it's definitely not the way it used to be. And Paul Heyman shares a lot of his philosophies on cutting a promo, and the whole point is to sell something, not just go out there and talk for the sake of talking. Most of the time, these guys aren't even introducing themselves. Also, it was really cool to hear Stone Cold talk about John Cena and the springboard stunner that he's been using that everyone has been kicking out of. And they talked a lot about moves in the WWE too, specifically DDTs. Stone Cold is really pissed that nobody's selling anything anymore. He talked about how guys like Harley Race's finisher was a simple suplex. How Jake the Snake Roberts' DDT was so dangerous and so vicious that they banned it. And now guys are hitting 2 or 3 DDTs per match, and they're kicking out of every one of them. So Austin has a big problem with the way things are done and sold and delivered today in today's wrestling, and he definitely didn't pull any punches. He was kind of ornery tonight. And then when he started talking about John Cena's move, he's like, look, I love and respect John Cena, but this is bullshit. You're taking this move and making this iconic move that was my finisher for so many years and turning it into a move that means nothing. And you're accentuating it because you're jumping off the top rope, essentially making the move more effective, and people are still kicking out of it in every match. So I really liked Austin's criticisms, and it's good to see 2 great wrestling minds like this, come together and talk about the problems. These are the type of guys you have to listen to. So up until this point, the interview was very enjoyable. I skipped around a little bit until you get to the end. And then Paul Heyman starts asking Stone Cold questions, including, will you fight Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 32? And this is the part of the podcast where they go into the work. Stone Cold starts getting pissed off. They start arguing with each other a little bit. Austin basically cuts a promo, totally working us, which I'm fine with because I think it's awesome when fantasy and reality kind of collide the way this sort of is. Both of these guys did a very good job of selling the tension. If you didn't know they were working you, you would have thought Austin was legitimately pissed off. And the fact that they even brought this up makes me think that it might actually have to happen because, look, they're stacking the deck. They really want 100,000 people at WrestleMania 32. So think of those 3 potential matches that we could have so far. We could have Rock and Triple H, we could have The Undertaker and Sting, and we could have Stone Cold Steve Austin and Brock Lesnar. Can you imagine that card, just those 3 matches as your foundation? I mean, on paper, that's pretty fucking fantastic. You throw the world title in the mix with Rollins or Reigns or Ambrose or a combination of all 3, as well as a Ronda Rousey appearance. This could be one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. So I love the fact that they legitimately teased this. It's not like they brought it up, talked about it for 30 seconds and moved on. This was the complete end of the podcast where Austin basically was like, you know what, we need to end this now before I kick your ass. So I really enjoyed that, and the potential tease, I don't know. To me, Austin looked amazing. This guy does not age. He looks the exact same as he did when he was 35 years old. I think Austin's in great shape. I think he can definitely have one more match against Brock. Man, that's going to be hard on Austin. He is not a spring chicken. He's getting older, and I don't know if he can work that physical style. But if they did something like Austin proposed, like a Texas death match, where, there's some serious violence going down, I think that could be more Austin style. It could be a lot of fun. I don't even know who you would put over in that thing. I'm guessing Brock. I'm guessing this is something that Austin would maybe have to do the honors here. I mean, the payday would be astronomical. The amount of money, the one-time payday Austin could get from this match could be, we're talking in the millions here, and Brock would make the same thing. I think it would definitely help pack in WrestleMania, especially considering it's in Austin's home state. And I'm really hoping they actually go in this direction. Like I said, why would they go through all this? Why would this be brought up and talked about for damn near 5 minutes if they weren't actually thinking about doing it? So I'm kind of excited for WrestleMania 32. I'm thinking so far it's shaping up to look nice. So I think that's it for tonight. I will probably be back up here next week because I guess next Monday is the go-home Money in the Bank show, so I'm going to have to come up here with fucking predictions again. So I guess expect that video from me in a week, and also don't forget, my next pay-per-view and DVD review should be up here at any time. Check my YouTube page to find that. It was a really fun DVD to do, and I think you guys are going to enjoy what I have to say about the life and career of Triple H. So thanks again for listening. I will catch you in about a week. Peace.